So verse 10 now, God says, tell it not in Gath. Don't let Gath find out that the Assyrians will make it all the way to the gates of our capital city. Don't let Gath find out about that. Gath was a Philistine city. Goliath was from Gath. David said the same thing that Micah says here. He said the same thing after King Saul was killed in battle. Don't let Gath find out that our king has been killed. We don't want the Philistines to know that our king is dead because they may see it as an opportunity to attack us. And here with Micah, it's we don't want Gath to find out what has happened to us or how weak and vulnerable we really are as a nation, because they may see our weakness as an opportunity to attack us. And so now what he's going to do is, beginning in verse 10, the Lord lists several cities all the way down to verse 13. And these cities were all in the foothills of Judah. They're all in the Shephelah. And I have a map for you that we've looked at before. You can bring that up. You can see Jerusalem there. Jerusalem is in the mountains of Judah. That's where most of the people live. That's where most of the cities are. And then on the coast, you've got the Philistine, and the Philistines living in the coastal plain. The foothills between the hill country of Judah and the coastal plain where the Philistines live is called the Shephelah. It's about 40 miles long. It's about 10 miles wide. And here's what you need to remember about the Shephelah. It's a buffer. It keeps the enemy out. And you need those cities that are in the Shephelah. You can leave this map up. You need those cities that are in the Shephelah to keep the Philistines out of the interior of the country and to keep the Philistines away from your capital city. You need those cities out there protecting you as a buffer zone between the Philistines and Judah. Micah here, he sees this vision. He has this prophecy where he sees all these cities that he sees in the verses we're about to look like, they're all in the Shephelah. And in his vision, in his prophecy here, Micah sees the future of all these cities, that in the future, they're all going to be conquered by the Assyrians. And so the Assyrians, they're going to conquer the northern kingdom, then they're going to come down kind of along the coastal plain and start attacking all of these cities because they know that that's the way up to Jerusalem. They're going to start defeating all of these defensive cities out in the Shephelah, which is going to give them a straight shot right up to Jerusalem. That's how they're going to surround the city of Jerusalem, is they're going to conquer these other cities down in the Shephelah first. Micah gets a vision of this in this prophecy, that the Assyrians will conquer all these cities as they're on their way up to Jerusalem, and Judah will not have their defense cities in the Shephelah anymore, meaning there's nothing stopping an enemy from coming into the interior of the nation and attacking. This should cause the nation of Judah to tremble, to hear a prophecy, thus saith the Lord, all your defense cities out in the Shephelah are going to get conquered by the Assyrians. That should cause everybody to say, oh, that's bad. That's really bad. If that happens, there's nothing stopping the enemy from coming in and just conquering us. But it doesn't get a response out of the people. Again, what else has to happen to the nation to get it to turn back to God? I mean, how much worse can it get? Now, with each city that's mentioned here in these verses, God uses the name of the city to make a play on words that's kind of lost in English. If we could read Hebrew, we would be rolling on the ground, laughing, reading these verses, but it's kind of lost in translation for us. So verse 10, tell it not in Gath, weep not at all. In Beth Aphrah, roll yourself in the dust. Now, Beth Aphrah means the house of dust. And so he tells the house of dust, you need to roll in the dust because of what's going to happen to you. Verse 11, pass by in naked shame, you inhabitant of Shaphir. Shaphir means beautiful. So beautiful should pass by a naked shame. The beautiful city will be brought to shame, is the idea here. The inhabitant of Zaanan does not go out. The word Zaanan, it means to lead the way or to lead the way out. But when Assyria comes, they're not going to go out of their city at all. Beth Ezel is mentioned next. Beth Ezel mourns. Its place to stand is taken away. Beth Ezel means a nearby house. But again, after Assyria comes through, Beth Ezel will not be a nearby house for anyone. They're going to be destroyed. In verse 12, for the inhabitants of Maroth pined for good, but disaster came down from the Lord to the gate of Jerusalem. Maroth means bitterness. And when the Assyrian army comes through the land, Maroth will know bitterness after Assyria is finished with them. Verse 13, O inhabitant of Lachish, or Lachish, harness the chariot to the swift steeds. She was the beginning of sin to the daughter of Zion, for the transgressions of Israel were found in you. Now, Lachish means invincible. Invincible. And Lachish was a fortified city. Again, it's out in that Shephelah. It sits in one of the 5 valleys that go up into the interior of Judah. And Lachish was like this military garrison, this fortified city that they had out there protecting them out there in the Shephelah, out there in the hill country. They had soldiers stationed there with horses and chariots. But when the Assyrians come, those soldiers are going to get on their horses and chariots and flee. And Lachish is not invincible as they thought it was. Lachish, it is one of the most important cities in the defense of Judah. In fact, we talked about Nineveh last week with Jonah. In Nineveh, one of the kings of Assyria, after conquering Lachish, he created this carving on one of the walls in his palace that's in the British Museum now, and it depicts the whole battle of Lachish because it was such an important city to conquer. And 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 14. 2 Kings 18, verse 14. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how important this city was. When Hezekiah the king heard that Lachish fell to the Assyrians, he immediately sent messengers out to the Assyrians asking for a peace agreement. He knew once Lachish fell, that's our last line of defense. Once Lachish fell to the Assyrians, I need to quickly make a peace agreement with them before they conquer everything, because we're defenseless now.